As a busy mom who is very passionate about feeding herself and her family well, pretty much the only way that I can pull this off is if I do some prepping and planning ahead of time. Taking a little bit of time to plan ahead, but also stock my fridge and stock my pantry with healthy, real food that we can eat and cook with is the only way that I am able to make it possible. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my cottage kitchen. In today's video, like I said, I'm going to be sharing with you how I prep for a week of healthy eating. I am a busy mom. I have 3 little kids. I work. I am also extremely pregnant right now. And the only way for me to really make healthy eating doable throughout the entire week is working ahead and planning ahead. Otherwise, you know what they say, you fail to plan, plan to fail. You guys really seem to like these types of videos, so I'm planning on just kind of bringing you into my kitchen more often and just in real time showing you like what I actually make. A lot of times it's the same things on repeat. They are just staples in my kitchen. Sometimes I switch things up depending on the week, but the goal is always to stock the fridge and stock the pantry with healthy, homemade things that are going to be quick to grab throughout the week, but also planning ahead in the sense of actually having somewhat of a meal plan in place, doing all the grocery shopping in one go, so we are set for the week. Okay, so speaking of meal planning, I do like to plan out our dinners for the week every week. Breakfast, we rotate through the same few things. We always have those food stock that we need to make them. I don't even have to think about it. Lunch, I typically like to make a big batch of something and then we will like make sandwiches or snack plates or eat leftovers. That's kind of like our plan of attack for lunch. But then dinner, I always like to decide all 7 nights of the week what we're going to eat ahead of time. So to bring you guys in and share with you what I'm actually doing and what I'm actually gonna be making, here is my meal plan for the week. So we're at the beginning of the week now. Monday is tomato soup and I'm gonna make some grilled cheese to go with it because we have a bunch of sourdough that I made that I don't want to get stale. We're gonna do tacos, probably beef tacos on Tuesday. I'm gonna make a sourdough chicken pot pie. We're gonna do burgers and potatoes one night, which is a super easy meal to throw together. On Friday, we always do sourdough pizza. That's also pretty easy. Saturday, we're gonna do a taco skillet and just make kind of like burrito bowls out of it, which is, again, pretty easy. And then on Sunday, we're gonna just do some kind of breakfast for dinner. If I'm feeling up for it, maybe I'll make a quiche. We have a lot of eggs right now. If not, we'll just literally do like scrambled eggs and toast, maybe bacon, and call it a day. So that is my meal plan for the week. I've shared this before that I am like not the kind of person that can just cook on the fly every single day. That actually stresses me out way more. Having to be creative, having to make that decision day after day after day just kind of exhausts me. So for me, it works out much better to have a meal plan to basically do all the thinking at once and make all the decisions at once, so that way it's just off my plate. I have a lot of mom friends, obviously, and some of them feel the opposite way. They hate being tied down to a meal plan. They feel much less stress if they can just cook each day just based on like what they have. So just do whatever works for you. I will say though, I do sometimes go rogue. I am not locked into our meal plan, but I'd like to know that every day there's some kind of dinner that's already been thought out and we have all the ingredients to make it. But sometimes I do switch it up. I'm like, that actually doesn't sound good, or I'm not up for making that. I'm gonna do this instead. And that is totally fine. And the reason I'm able to do that pretty effortlessly is because I always have a well-stocked pantry. We always have all the cooking essentials that we know we're going to need, like all the very basic stuff we always have on hand. And I wanted to share with you one of my favorite ways to get those like pantry essentials that I know that we're probably going to use week in and week out, and they're just always helpful to have on hand to throw together healthy, homemade, but also easy meals. So one of the things I've relied on through the years to keep my pantry well stocked is actually Thrive Market. I have always been a fan of Thrive, and I have a little order here and I thought I would do a little unboxing. Okay, so here's what I got in this order, and I would say all of these things are staples that I always have on hand. Okay, so first I have oats. I particularly love this brand of oats. and I love that Thrive carries them because they're sprouted, so they're going to be easier to digest right off the bat. You don't necessarily have to soak them ahead of time. You could if you wanted to, but I love these for, obviously we make a lot of oatmeal, but for granola too. I also got a bag of these organic sprouted walnuts. And nuts, as you know, especially organic and especially sprouted, can be very pricey, but their prices are always really good. And again, sprouted, so they are going to be a lot easier to digest, eating them right out of the bag. So really good for snacking, for eating them raw. I love to add these to granola. I love to add these on top of oatmeal. Okay, chia seeds. If you guys have been watching any of my videos, you know I've been on like a chia pudding obsession. I don't know if it's like a pregnancy craving or just something that I love in general, but so I have been flying through chia seeds, which is a good thing because they are high in omega-3s. They've got good protein and fat. They're a great thing to incorporate into meals or snacks. I love me some chia seeds. Another thing we always have is vanilla extract. This one is organic, which I love. And we use this for just a lot of different things throughout the kitchen. We always have a good bottle of vanilla extract in the pantry. Okay, tomato products. You will never find me out of these because I use them for just so many different meals. They're so versatile. Anything from making tomato soup or chili is like one of the backbones of my kitchen. Like instead of adding salsa to a taco skillet, I'll use diced tomatoes. I use tomato paste in things to thicken it up if I want to make our own pizza sauce or tomato sauce. This is typically what I use because obviously tomatoes aren't in season all year round. So I love just their organic diced tomatoes. These are such a staple for me, and then I also got some of their organic tomato paste as well. Another thing that you can just never not have if you're going to cook a lot of your own things are dried spices. So my biggest tip with dried spices is, actually I have two. One is just pick a few that you like. You don't need to have this like super exotic spice cabinet filled with lots of things. Like just at least get a few things that you know that you could literally add to like any meal and it's gonna taste good. You don't have to be fancy with spices, at least I am not fancy with spices. But then also, don't buy them from the grocery store over and over in the glass bottles. You're gonna spend way too much money. Buy them where you can refill those same bottles over and over and over and over again. It's gonna save you a lot of money in the long run. So I picked up just a few of my most staple used spices. Oregano, I use that, I mean, probably almost daily in whatever I cook for dinner. Thyme is a really good one. Parsley is another huge one for me. These are like my core, and maybe rosemary, but I don't use that very often, core like green dried spices that you will always find in my cabinet. And then of course, cinnamon. We use cinnamon every single day for all kinds of stuff. So these are like 4 spices that you will never find me without. Okay, and then I picked up a couple of like staple fats to stock up on. First one is avocado oil. I love avocado oil because it has a high smoke point. It's probably what I use in cooking the most, next to maybe butter. I do always stock olive oil, but I just don't use it as much because it doesn't do as well with high heat, and that's just why I love avocado oil. So this is a staple for me. It's what's always in my little like oil drizzle. It has a fancy name. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Pregnancy brain is real. But that is what I always fill in there. And then another staple, hands down, apple cider vinegar. This is helpful for many different things. I mean, apple cider vinegar, the uses will like blow your mind if you actually look up all the things you can use it for. One of the most like prominent things I actually use it for when it comes to food is actually in bone broth. This is what I use when I'm making broth to help release more of the nutrients from the bones and from the ligaments. The acid just helps break everything down. So that is a must. And then the other fat that I picked up is actually ghee, which I haven't been using a ton. I used to use all the time years ago. It's clarified butter, and it actually has a higher smoke point than butter itself. So that's handy for certain things, especially like sauteing or stir frying. It's going to give that butter flavor. So I decided to pick up a jar of that. So that is my little haul for you guys today for pantry staples. I love Thrive Market. All of their food is high quality. So much of it is organic and, you know, sustainably sourced. It's just an excellent company when it comes to food quality, but also the prices are going to be lower than what you see in the grocery store. This order, I actually, like when I looked back, I saved just about $72 alone on this order versus if I were to go pick up all of this stuff individually at a grocery store, which I feel like is pretty, like that's very significant. So I love that everything is just less expensive. I also just love that you can shop online and you can actually like look at ingredients like on all the packages, which is something that I like to do, but in reality, going to the grocery store, if my kids, or at least one of my kids are in tow, it is very difficult to like stand there and like read through everything. We just don't have the time, they don't have the patience, but that is something that's important to me. So I love that you can actually look online. I also just love their Thrive Market brand. Everything has solid ingredients, like healthy, high quality, but again, because it's their brand, they're not having to pay to have other brands, which they do have other brands. That is also like a huge cost savings. And it comes to your door. That's probably the best thing, because there's a lot of ways to, stock your pantry and cut corners as far as cost goes, but you don't have to go to a store. There's no pickup. Like it literally just, they drop it on your front door. It's just so convenient. So if you've never actually heard of Thrive, it is like an online membership-based grocery store. So if you're a member, you get to shop all of their foods at much lower prices, and you can either just pay month to month or you can pay like annually, so you have it for an entire year. And I think we all know that groceries are very expensive nowadays, and it's getting harder to buy healthy food without it completely like busting your budget. So this is really helpful for that. Also, a lot of people just don't even have access to like these higher quality organic, health foods at their local grocery store, depending on where they live. That is a huge obstacle to healthy food. So this kind of solves that if you're in that boat. But even if you're not, the convenience of it coming to your door, again, having it be able to be shipped to you is amazing. They will price match for you. They give cash back on certain food items. And also you get free shipping over $49, which is also carbon neutral, which is very nice. They have filters on their website. So if you, for example, if you're gluten-free or maybe one of your kids is on, a more restrictive diet for a health reason, it's very easy to just navigate the website that way and just kind of filter down with foods that that are going to work. I don't personally use the filters a ton, but I do love like the buy again section, because it just pulls up everything I've ordered before, and it's just like takes me 2 seconds to add those to my cart, things that I already have purchased, have loved, and basically are staples that I know I'm going to buy over and over again. They also add new products all the time, which is fun, and they have like customer reviews on there because it's a website, which when you go to the grocery store, you don't get to hear about what Susan in Montana thinks of their diced tomatoes. But now if you want to know what Susan thinks, you can read the reviews, which actually can be really helpful. If you want to give Thrive a try, you can click the link in my description box below, or just go to thrivemarket.com/Becca Bristow, where you can get 30% off your first order, which is awesome, and also a free gift up to $60, which is also awesome. But if you guys want to see some staple things that I like to make throughout the week to keep our pantry and our fridge stocked, to make healthy eating easier with a lot of these things that I just shared with you, let's get started. First up, I am roasting a chicken. The most economical way to buy high quality pasture raised chicken is buying the whole kit and caboodle. And that's what I've started to do. And it really is so much better. So I roast a chicken once a week. It gives us tons of meat for meals throughout the week. But then also I can use all of the bones to make a ton of super nourishing, very nutritious bone broth that basically costs me $0. So I'm like really lazy about roasting a chicken. I don't do anything fancy. I'm not like stuffing the cavity with anything. I literally just douse it in avocado oil and then sprinkle seasonings on top. It's usually whatever green seasonings I have on hand, along with some salt and pepper. So here I use the oregano, the parsley, and the thyme, and I just generously sprinkle it all over. And then I roast it in the oven at 400 for an hour, or until it's reads 165, on a thermometer. And usually when I cook it for an hour at 400, it always does, and it comes out perfect. It's delicious. It's so easy. It takes hardly any time, and we get a ton of high quality food out of it. So then we can actually now make the broth. Once I debone the chicken and I take all the meat off, I throw everything that's left over in my Instant Pot. And I also, anytime throughout the week that I chop up onions or garlic or carrots or celery, anything like that, I shove all the little odd bits and ends that would go either to the chickens or just in the trash, and I put it in my freezer. And anytime I go to make broth, I just pull out one of the bags, I dump it in, and it's a way to like add a lot of depth of flavor to the broth but it also costs me no money, because that's just extras that would have gone to waste. So once I do that, I will add in about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and fill the whole thing to the top of the bones with water. And then I just put it in my Instant Pot for about 2 hours and 40 minutes. And that usually comes out great. And then I will just put it into jars, store it in the fridge, and then we can use this all throughout the week. Obviously for, soups or adding to chili or anytime we cook rice. Even if you cook pasta, you can use the broth, and it's going to be much more nutrient dense than just using water. And it's a way to give a little nutrition boost to all the foods you make without really having to do anything different. And also, again, it's basically free. Speaking of chili, I also made a big batch of that this week to basically have for lunches. Chili is super filling. It's protein rich. It's super easy just to heat up real quick for a fast, very nourishing lunch. And I totally just made this with whatever I had on hand. You don't have to be fancy with recipes. Give yourself room to just kind of experiment. And it actually turned out so good. So I always do a chopped onion and some minced garlic to start. And then I actually used ground pork instead of ground beef because that was what I had in the fridge. Cooked that up. And then I added in the diced tomatoes, which the Thrive diced tomatoes are so flavorful, you guys. I just have to tell you. Also, 1 can of tomato paste. And then also I had some frozen corn in the freezer. So I threw that in there and I just kind of started to cook it all down. And then obviously I seasoned it as well. So typically for chili, I always do salt and pepper, obviously. And then I did some oregano, also lots and lots of cumin, a little bit of chili powder, not too much because I don't like it to be really sweet. And then I also added paprika. And then you just stir it all together and I let it simmer on the stove for at least 20 minutes, just to let all the flavors come together. And then when we eat it, we'll top it with sour cream and avocado, which just bumps up the fat, makes it even more filling, and those are also just 2 things we always have in the fridge. Next up is my current obsession, which is chia pudding. You guys know that I've been on a chia pudding kick lately. I love it because it takes 2 seconds to throw together. I can literally just grab it out of the fridge whenever I'm hungry, and it's very filling. Chia seeds have protein, they have omega-3s, they've got fat, and then I use whole milk, which has obviously fat and protein as well. So it's a very well-rounded, balanced snack. And all I do is just 1 cup of milk, sometimes a splash of heavy cream if I have it. It just makes it super creamy. 4 tablespoons of chia seeds, and then I add a tiny splash of vanilla and a little bit of cinnamon, and then I stick it in the fridge for about 24 hours to really let it thicken up. I shake it up before I put it in, and then you'll see that the chia seeds will kind of separate top and bottom. Basically, over the next 10 minutes, just give it a few shakes until they all start to kind of mix much better into the milk. That way you won't get any clumps. It makes it super just the perfect texture. So that's how I actually make it. And then you can top it with things if you want. I love bananas and walnuts and cinnamon, or you could do raisins or any other fruit. You could get wild here, or sometimes I just eat it totally plain and enjoy it that way too. Next, this is another new obsession of mine, and it's berry chia jam. And I made this to mix into the plain yogurt that I make and always have in the fridge. But also this would be really good on the chia pudding too. So it's super easy to make, just on a skillet on the stovetop. Just I did 2 cups of frozen berries, mixed berries. For every cup of mixed berries, you're going to do a tablespoon of chia seeds. And that's literally it. You just let it cook down on the stove, and you'll see that the berries get mushy and they release their juices. And then the chia seeds come into play and they really congeal everything and thicken it up like a jam. You could add cinnamon, you could add lemon juice. If it needs a little bit of extra sweetness, I always taste it to make sure if it does or not. Add a little bit of maple syrup. This time I added a little bit, and then just store it in a jar in the fridge for a week, and you can put it on, like I said, yogurt, chia pudding. You can put it on toast. It's so delicious, and it's made from incredible ingredients, and it's so easy to make. And last but not least, I whipped up a big batch of granola. I've been using this recipe from this book for many years. I love this book. I mentioned it many times. It always turns out good. It's so easy to make, and it's really tasty. And so basically it's just 3 cups of oatmeal. I love those sprouted oats. And then to sweeten it, I do half a cup of maple syrup. She calls for melted coconut oil, which I sometimes do, but this time I subbed it for ghee to give that that butter flavor, and it was so good. And then you also add in a little bit of salt, a little bit of vanilla, and a little bit of cinnamon, and then some kind of chopped nuts. I typically do walnuts. I just chop those up and add them in. You just throw everything in a bowl, stir it all up so it's nice and coated, and then bake it in your oven at 275 for anywhere from like 45 to 55 minutes. You just want it to get that nice toasty golden color and to really crisp up. And as it cools, it will crisp up even more. And then once it's all cooled down, I throw it in a big jar, and we will put this on top of yogurt. My kids love to snack on it. They also love to put it on top of oatmeal, and it's just one of our favorite things to have on hand, but it's so much cheaper to make it yourself. Plus, I can use much higher quality ingredients when I make it myself at home. All right, you guys, so that is all I have for this video. I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered to tackle at least maybe some of these things in your own kitchen so that you can set yourself up for a week of success when it comes to healthy eating. And don't forget, if you want to check out Thrive, you can click the link in my description box down below, or just go to thrivemarket.com/Becca Bristow. You'll get 30% off your first order, and then also a free gift up to $60. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, please comment down below and let me know what you guys would like to see next. I love your feedback. I find it super valuable, and I obviously want to make videos that you guys want to see. So thanks again for watching this one, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.